Hello and welcome to the News by Standards. Victims of grooming gangs have been ignored because of political correctness, Rishi Sunak said as he set out plans for a police task force. Specialist officers will be sent to help forces with their investigations, the government said, and better ethnicity data will help ensure abusers do not evade justice due to cultural sensitivities, it added. Labour said the proposals were far too inadequate. Under the new plans, more data on the makeup of grooming gangs, including ethnicity, would help ensure suspects cannot hide behind cultural sensitivities as a way to evade justice. It comes after Home Secretary Suella Braverman said in towns around the country, vulnerable white girls living in troubled circumstances have been abused, drugged, raped and exploited by networks of gangs of rapists, which she claimed were overwhelmingly made up of British Pakistani males. During a visit to Rochdale on Monday, the Prime Minister was asked if the focus on British Asian grooming gangs was appropriate. He claimed cases of victims and whistleblowers had been often ignored by social workers, local politicians and the police in areas such as Rochdale, Rotherham and Telford, because of cultural sensitivity and political correctness. That's not right. Earlier, Sabah Kaiser, ethnicity minority ambassador to the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse, IICSA, said it was very, very dangerous to turn child sexual abuse into a matter of colour. It doesn't have a religion. It doesn't have a culture. Child sexual abuse does not discriminate. Sir Keir Starmer told LBC political correctness should not get in the way of prosecuting grooming gangs, but added the vast majority of sexual abuse cases do not involve ethnic minorities. The government could be accused of deploying police resources without having a full understanding of the scale of the problem. Last year, a report by the inquiry found the police and councils still do not understand the risk of organised gangs grooming children in their areas and are not collecting data which would help identify paedophiles and their ethnic backgrounds. It found that in some cases authorities might be potentially downplaying the scale of abuse and that local authorities don't want to be labelled another Rochdale or Rotherham, referring to the high-profile grooming gang cases. Signs of abuse were found in 6 areas studied by the inquiry, but police forces generally could not provide evidence about the extent of the problem. Over years of hearings and research, the IICSA also found child abuse existed in a wide range of contexts, ranging from religious institutions, schools, the care system, and online, which are not covered by Monday's announcement. There is also a huge backlog in cases going through the courts, which particularly affects victims of child abuse, who sometimes have to wait years while dealing with the trauma their experience has created. Sir Peter Wanless, Chief Executive of the NSPCC, said it was really important that by raising an issue such as race, we don't create other blind spots. He told BBC Breakfast, because for sure there are many predators who prey on vulnerable children, who are from a range of cultural backgrounds, and there are many victims who are not white girls who deserve our attention and support. So my plea would be is that we are blind to nothing as we address issues of child sexual abuse. Plans also include introducing legislation to make membership of a grooming gang an aggravating factor during sentencing, Downing Street said. Mr Sunak was in Leeds and Greater Manchester on Monday, meeting victims and local police to mark the launch of the task force, which will be supported by the National Crime Agency. It comes after the government said people who work with children in England will be legally required to report child sexual abuse or face prosecution under its plans. The move, which is subject to a consultation, was recommended last year by the IICSA. Ms Braverman told the BBC that while the fault lay with the perpetrators for carrying out heinous and vile acts of depravity, there was also a willful turning of the blind eye among authorities. She added that cultural sensitivities and concerns about being called bigoted had played a role in high-profile abuse scandals, including in Rochdale and Rotherham. An independent inquiry found at least 1,400 children had been subjected to sexual abuse in Rotherham between 1997 and 2013, with the perpetrators predominantly men of Pakistani heritage. Home Office commissioned research in 2020 found a number of high-profile cases had mainly involved men of Pakistani ethnicity, but also highlighted significant limitations to what can be said about links between ethnicity and this form of offending. It said that there was limited research on offender identity and poor quality data, which made it difficult to draw conclusions. However, it is likely that no one community or culture is uniquely predisposed to offending. Dr. Ella Cockpain, Associate Professor at University College London's Department of Security and Crime Science, said the government was disregarding and contradicting its own research. She told BBC Radio 4's Today programme, Ms Braverman is choosing to mainstream hard right talking points and to push discredited stereotypes. That is really dangerous and reductive. It allows other offenders to get away with abuse. The Labour Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin, called Ms Braverman's comments a dog whistle, meaning a coded message designed to appeal to a certain group. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper told the BBC the government's plans were far too inadequate for the scale of the problem and accused accused ministers of chasing headlines. She appeared to back the collection of ethnicity data, saying widespread data collection should be happening, but accused the Home Office of lacking leadership. The Liberal Democrats' Home Affairs spokesperson Alistair Carmichael said they supported steps to crack down on abusers, but said unless the government tackles the backlog in our courts and restores community policing, too many criminals will continue to evade justice.